let's for a moment discuss what will happen to Europe if we do not make remigration happen. The fact of the matter is, and I still find it shocking every time I say this, is that if nothing changes, we ethnic Europeans will become a minority in most of our homelands by the end of this century. In some countries, like in Germany and in Sweden, we will become a minority before the first half of this century ends. Mind you, that is in less than 25 years. With the current rate of immigration, I don't think that this surprises any of you. In the Netherlands, we have a so-called right-wing government right now, yet 1,200 immigrants enter our nation weekly. In Germany, the net migration stands at 1.5 million people a year. In the UK, we're talking 600,000. In France, a little over 500,000. The Swedish population grows with 1% solely because of immigration every single year. So I think it's safe to say that closing the borders is absolutely pivotal, but it's no longer enough to save Europe. Look at Trump. He openly campaigned, advocated, and is now implementing mass deportations. I think that's a term that is stronger, right, than remigration. However, I understand, of course, that there are historical differences between America and between Europe. In fact, Europe historically has always been a white continent, not majority white, but essentially entirely white. So for the ethnic European population to suddenly become a minority in one single generation because an elite forced that upon us is not something that we have to accept. It is not unethical to want Europe to stay European. Africans have Africa, Asians have Asia, Europe belongs to the Europeans. If it's not unethical for other cultural ethnogroups to have their homelands, why would it be controversial for us? I would like to ask a question. How much can something change until that very thing ceases to be the thing that it was? I think that's the question we have to ask when it comes to Europe. Is Europe still European if the white population, the ethnic population of Europe, becomes a minority on its own continent? Would China still be China if, let's say, now the vast majority of the population would start to suddenly consist of Black Africans? I think all of us would say to that question, no. To not want that to happen is not unethical, especially not if we look at the consequences of mass migration. Talked about rapes, stabbings, and terror attacks that were committed by migrants and still are committed by migrants on a daily basis. The fruits of mass migration to Europe from the Third World have been insecurity, impoverishment, and cultural decay. To not want that to happen to your home is not just right, it's in fact your duty to prevent it from happening. Therefore, I think we have to be realistic. Civic nationalism doesn't work, not at this rate of immigration. It doesn't mean that we can't have a small number of immigrants come to our country, immigrants who are well integrated, but not millions of people who come here with the sole aim of living a better life. Because living a better life for them doesn't mean living a better life for us.
On the economy, it has been broken. We haven't had economic growth for 14 years.
So having discussions, that focus solely on the concept of integration really bothers me at this point. We could have had those discussions before we decided, or let's say someone decided for us to open the borders and let in millions of people. Before we could have had that discussion. Right now, it is nothing but a means to stall true progress when it comes to undoing this whole situation and saving our civilization. So what do we do? Is it possible, third question, for us to start remigration? My answer to that is very simple. Yes. Where there is a will, there is a way. Don't be fooled. Our politicians are absolutely able to carry this out. They're simply unwilling right now. And so, to hide their unwillingness, they hide behind international treaties. They hide behind human rights. But these treaties are not reflections of natural law. They are not an infallible source of moral superiority. In fact, those treaties were drafted less than a century ago, I believe, to genuinely make the entire concept of nation states redundant and to do away with Christian principles such as the sanctity of life, liberty, and property. What we have to do is we have to take back our own definitions, common sense definitions, of what our rights as the native population of a continent are in line with natural law. Because your nation, your homeland, is an extension of you and your family, and it's your duty to protect it. So forgive my French, but I really genuinely do not give a rat's ass what the UN says. Migration to the Western world is not a human right. We need to let go of the lie that everyone has the right to come and live a better life in Europe just to be financially better off. Economic migration is something that should be of benefit to the host country, not to the guests. It's that simple. And yes, of course, being charitable, helping those who are truly in need is something that we as Christians will do. But we will do it for the limited time that those people actually need protection. And I think that it should be done in the safest country closest to home. And last time I checked, the safest country closest to Syria, for example, is not the Netherlands, and it's not Germany, and it isn't Sweden either. So it's time for us to reinstate those common sense definitions, dismantle the NGOs that constantly make a fool of us and help immigrants to abuse our systems. And we have to stop being taken advantage of. We have to protect what is ours first and who we love first.
You'll be surprised to know that in this small country of 5.5 million people, we spend 6.5 billion on NGOs and we have 33,000 of them.
Ain't nobody gonna save your soul. Ain't nobody gonna save you. Ain't nobody gonna save your soul. Ain't nobody gonna save you.
There have been multiple reported cases of people being paid by NGOs to attend left-wing protests over the last few months.
We are patriots, and we stand steadfast on the side of freedom. We fight for free speech, the cornerstone of all freedom. We fight for secure borders and law and order. We fight for the safety for our kids and next generations. We fight for sovereign nations and the next generation. We fight for the right to be free citizens and free nations. And last but not least, we fight for peace.